community also pulled by a vision of love and inclusion. When you think about it, we do have a grand vision that you can tune into on the website, a much bigger, more well-worded one. However, it's distilled down to this, that we are an inclusive spiritual community, that we are here to be the presence of love, co-creating heaven on earth, a world that works for all. That's the essence of it. And if you really tune into that essence, that's a big vision. It's a big vision, isn't it? And yet we know that in God, with God, as people of God, all things are possible. All things are possible. We're in partnership with the infinite universal presence, power, life, and mind of God. All things are possible. And so how good it is to be pulled by a vision of inclusion. We're also a community of conscience. I really love the fact that John Lewis brought me back to that word of conscience, because it's one we don't use very often in our teaching. But I think it's so important because conscience, when I looked it up, means that the ability to distinguish between what is right and wrong. And of course, that means that we stand for our values, what we value. We stand up for it. Not only with our words and not only with our thoughts, but with our actions. So we are a community of conscience. And what I have found is sometimes it's, when your mind is all muddled with a lot of negative thoughts, it's sometimes hard to tap into this thing called conscience. Or it's actually spiritual guidance, ultimately. But we know that when we do our spiritual practice, when we do our prayer work, when we do our spiritual study, when we come together as community and support one another, that we have a clearer path to that thing called conscience, which is the guidance of the Most High God, which is the presence of love, the presence of good. And the path forward to clearing away all that nonsense, sin, self-induced nonsense, that nonsense in thinking is to eliminate the judgments that get in the way, the shoulds and the shouldn'ts that we put on ourselves and we put on others. And I'll tell you why, because some people say, well, that person shouldn't be doing that. I hear you. I really do hear you, and I know I go back to that every once in a while, and I remind myself of the power of inquiry, and I love the work of Byron Katie for that reason. That when we challenge our shoulds and our shouldn'ts, our judgments, what we're doing is we are challenging that which causes stress and gets in the way of a clear mind, because a clear mind has more access to solution. So that means we are more powerful, and we have a greater connection to guidance when we're moving forward to address things going on in the world that are not working. So believe me, if you judge your fellow human as having flaws, you are projecting those flaws onto them. And so it's important to write down what you say the flaws are, in other words, the judgments, what you think should or shouldn't be happening, to set yourself free. And you do that by asking, is this true? Am I absolutely sure that it's true? How do I live when I believe that thought? And if you're focusing on that thought, you're focusing on judging others, what you're doing is you're tying up a lot of energy in a lot of negativity. Does everybody see this now? And that way when we inquire and we say, who would I be without this thought going through my mind right now? I would be a powerful co-creator with God, in God, as God, revealed as God, as that light, that intelligence, that wisdom of God. Okay, so I think we got that one. I know I got it. Okay, the next one is we are a community that encourages each other. So I'm going to refer back to that beautiful quote from Hebrews that Marcy just read us. Let us consider how we may encourage one another on toward love and good deeds. Isn't that what we do for one another as spiritual community? We encourage one another onward toward love, being a greater presence of love, a greater expression of love, and good deeds, making a difference in the world, bringing right action into the world. And practicing inclusion is one of those good deeds. It's actually love in action if you think about it. Inclusion, compassion for other different things, service. Inclusion, though, is what we've been focusing on this month. And as a spiritual community, then, we are called to encourage one another onward toward greater love and onward toward good deeds. I was thinking about how we're doing that in our social justice initiative ministry is doing that right now, encouraging us onward to greater love and to good deeds. Thank you. And I trust you'll all join us after service so that we can continue with our conversations. Having a spiritual community that encourages you and I, encouraging each other, is like a booster rocket. Think about it. Think about the space shuttle. You know, it can pack like 1,000,000 pounds of fuel, if you can imagine, go 1,000 miles per hour in a very short time. And yet it needs that booster rocket, which then later falls off, to get it through the heaviness, the thickness of the atmosphere out into the field of infinite possibility, which is outer space. All kinds of things are ready to be discovered. That is what we do for one another. We are each other's booster rockets. Encouragement, we're cheering each other on, we're calling each other on our stuff so that we don't stay there. And so in that way, we're able to escape the heavy pull of the conditioned mind. And we're able to escape the pull of any negative influences that might be around us. And helps us move into that field of infinite possibilities and infinite potentiality. I'll tell you right now, I would not be here where I am today without enormous support and encouragement from family, from friends, from many of you, from spiritual community, from mentors. I wouldn't be where I am today, and I so deeply treasure all of you and feel so grateful for all of you. So, booster rockets. Let's remember that we are these amazing booster rockets for each other. Encouraging each other to keep moving forward. We also are a community who are stronger together. And I was thinking about this principle of strength, and it actually goes along with flexibility. Think about a rope or one of those, either a straw rope or one of those wire ropes. Think about it. They're made up of what? A lot of individual strands. And ropes are, I think, even more impressive because each little individual strand that goes into that rope is pretty weak. But you wrap them all together, you wind them all together, and you have amazing strength. A nice thick rope can just pull things together. Amazing strength and flexibility. I also read about a video, and I still need to look it up, but this is the way that this video is described. It's an online video that documented a herd of water buffalo in Africa, water buffalo, that were suddenly being scattered by a pride of lions that was chasing them. And one of the lions, or a small group of the lions, tackled one of the calves and had it down on the ground and was ready to move in. And all the other water buffalo gathered together in a really tightly knit circle, put their heads down, and charged the lions and got them, chased them away, saved the little calf. Isn't that what we are as spiritual community? We are stronger together. When we gather together with purpose, with a great purpose in mind, we can accomplish amazing things. We have 71 members right now. There are a lot of people that are tuning in on Facebook, and then we have a YouTube later that comes in our newsletter, people tuning into that. We have a lot of people tuning in, including every one of you as part of our community. Together, we are strong. We are flexible, able to move and change our position and give our attention to what needs our attention. So as we practice this thing called inclusion, that's what our community is really rooted in. This is what I notice happens, and this is the strength that comes from it. You know, we are a diverse community, and I am very grateful for that, because think about it. And this is actually documented. This is not just only our own experience in our community, but the more and the different cultures, viewpoints, and individualized expressions of God, and all the different age ranges too, all different ways in which humanity shows up. The greater the variety when you form a group or community, the stronger and more effective it is to accomplish the impossible. That's the beauty of it. And I'm so grateful. So I'd like us to turn within in prayer, in full awareness and knowing that we live, move, and have our being in a spiritual universe governed by spiritual law, that we are individualizations made in the likeness and image of that one, that we are the very power, presence, life, and light of God individualized. I know that we are beings of the light, that as spiritual community, that we are rooted in spirit, we are rooted in spiritual truth. We practice spiritual truth. We are full participants, conscious participants, wise participants in creation, in co-creating this thing called heaven on earth, pulled by a vision of inclusion, pulled by a vision that reminds us of why we are here. We are not here just to take up space. We are here to co-create heaven on earth, a world that works for all. And we are doing it each and every day when we commit ourselves to spiritual practice, to spiritual study, to getting together with one another and encouraging one another onward toward love and good deeds. I'm so grateful for the strength of this community. I'm so grateful for the love present in this community. I'm so grateful for the diversity of this community, for all the different voices and the input that make us so strong and so beautiful and so radiant and so effective in this world, in this day, in this time. We are undaunted by condition because we are people that don't walk by sight, we walk by vision. Vision guides us. And I'm so grateful for this knowing. I'm so grateful for the shifts and the changes and the upwelling of the divine nature in all of us. And I release this word into the universal law of mind and invite us all to say together, yes, and so it is. All right. Thank you, everybody. And so